So this video is going to be a little bit different because I'm not doing a daily vlog. I'm not talking about one particular feature of the ship. I'm actually talking about this guy. This is my friend Juan, one of my best friends. He's a wonderful human. Follow Juan. Do you have an Instagram?
No, I don't.
Juan has never been on a cruise, not just Virgin. He's never been on any cruise.
No cruise.
He came along. It was a surprise to Larissa, who's taking pictures of the skyline back there. We surprised her this morning with Juan coming along.
So I think I'll just go with you guys.
Did you just bring that to make that ship, or did you bring it to your car?
No, I'm actually going with you guys too.
Shut up!
Yeah.
No, you were surprised.
It's happening.
You jerk! Oh my god! I think you guys stop.
We're going on a cruise.
Yes.
And so in this video, we're just going to talk to Juan about what his experience is like on his very first cruise. I've cruised a lot, and I've been on Virgin Voyages Scarlet Lady, their first ship, several times already. If you've watched or read any of the content, you know I'm a fan. But this video is not about my journey, but that of a first-time cruiser, as you just saw a moment ago, and now again, Juan. I thought it'd be a good opportunity to share a different perspective, right? I always talk about cruises, Larissa talks about cruises, as coming from someone that's cruised a lot in different places on different lines, but now we have this totally different perspective. So we're going to go through Juan's thoughts and experiences. We're going to deeply analyze you and show you some of the fun that we had on board this adult by design voyage. Originally, by the way, this is going to be kind of a vlog style thing where I do it like you may see some of my other videos, follow along, and we update throughout the cruise. We started doing that. We're having entirely too much fun. Didn't do a great job of that. So throughout this, you'll see we'll go back and forth a little bit between those styles. Sorry for the weird formatting there. I guess what I want to know, Juan, is what surprised you most? But don't answer yet. Don't answer yet. I'm Bill from cruisehabit.com, and we're going to be taking a look and talking about Juan's very first cruise, a 5-night voyage on Virgin Voyages Scarlet Lady.
Stay tuned.
We're going to start off talking about planning. Now, this is kind of funny because often, and I think you saw this happen even during the cruise, people come up to me and, oh, you're an influencer? I say, I can't even influence my friends to come on a cruise. So I realized this was part of the planning was, well, it's what I was like, Juan, we're doing this, man.
A 10-year journey.
Yes. But what about this? Because I've talked about other cruises we've been on and tried to get you to go on every cruise, I think.
Several of them.
So what about this particular cruise made you finally pull the trigger?
Well, there's a combination of things. Some of them are related to the cruise. Some of them are related to my current life situation. But I definitely wanted an adults-only cruise. And I think the philosophy of this whole trip, you're going to hear me say it several times, it's I want it to be a relaxing experience and enjoyable. I mean, about enjoying and relaxing, not much else. And I think also, well, you did call me and tell me about this particular cruise. So it was very well, recommended by Larissa and Billy.
We've talked about it a few times.
Yeah, right. It was placed in my Inception, So, again, value, cost, and the ultimate final results, I was pleasantly surprised.
And actually, cost, I don't want to fixate on this, but it was a spectacular deal because you went solo. You were the only one in the cabin, and a lot of people know that sometimes means you're kind of almost like paying double in a way. But for this 5-night cruise, what was it, like $1,200, $1,300?
Yeah, it didn't reach 13, yeah. And in fact, that's over the 10 years I've known Billy and Larissa, that's one of the caveats into me getting into a cruise. Like, single fares are typically not the best of deals. Yeah. But for this one, I think it was an excellent opportunity. So that's part of it.
You should really make more friends.
I know, I'm single.
Putting it out there.
Yeah.
Essentially, you wanted relaxing, you wanted adults only, and this was a great value, and the timing was right in terms of schedule and life.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's go into what happened before the cruise, but after you decided you were going to go. And we're going to be talking about, obviously, at a lot of points in this video, the ship itself. So shameless plug, check out the ship tour video. We'll link below. We've got ship tour, cabin tours, all sorts of stuff.
It's a fun ship.
It is. And with unique lighting. That's why we did this, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, nice. All right. We'll see if we remember to change this when it's appropriate for the conversation. So before you sailed, we had a couple quick conversations. I realized here I'm like Mr. Cruise, like that's what I do. And
I was in good hands, definitely.
sort of, maybe, right? Because like we're in the Uber on the way to the port. It's about an hour ride from us, and I was like, oh, I haven't explained how a lot of this works. So we talk about that a little bit. We're gonna pull up. There'll be someone you can drop your bags with, any checked bags, like that big one. Since we don't have luggage tags, you're just going to give them your room number. They'll tag it for you. No problem. Give them a few bucks tip. And they will hand you a wristband. That's one of the things I think you saw. It's like a fabric or lanyard type thing. Has a little square on it, plastic square. That's the thing you use to charge anything to the room. So when you get a drink or if you buy something in one of the shops, it goes to your onboard account. You already tied a credit card to your account in the app when you checked in. Cool. It's also what you use to open your room door. Then you'll get to, there's a red gangway. Everything is red for Virgin. That's where you scan your thing, you walk on the ship, and that's it. Rooms are ready on Virgin. Rooms are ready as soon as you get there. Signage on Virgin is actually kind of their weak spot. I don't understand why. It's like an easy thing to do. But plenty of people around that'll point you in the right direction to your room, to whatever venue you're trying to get to. Then we're just hanging out until 4:30. We've got that Facebook meetup and going to make new friends. Up to this point, so we just talked about getting there and what was going to happen. You did do some things before this, though, in terms of you checked in online in the app. What was that like? Because I think I told you, hey, download the app and go in here. Mm-hmm. I will admit, part of this was intentional. I didn't want to lead you too much because I don't know. I'm so used to it. How'd you find the check-in experience? Like, was it confusing? Did the app work okay?
Very intuitive, very straightforward. I think once I got the app, everything was super clear. I did appreciate that extra, briefing that Billy gave me in that, our Uber ride, because indeed there were a lot of things I would probably not have guessed by myself. Ultimately, the experience will take you through it, but I really appreciated just knowing ahead of time.
Yeah. Join me on any cruise. I will give you the same Uber talk. So you took care of that check-in, seems to have worked well. You got to the port. What was, I know my impressions because it was a little bit different than what I was used to be honest. What did you think when you got to the port and you saw there are people, there are lines?
I immediately got taken back to lines in Venezuelan airports. So I'm like, I've been here before, but I didn't expect it to be like that. But then I realized that this particular sailing, if I'm not mistaken, it was like considerably higher number of sailors than others. So we assumed that, the expectations that maybe Virgin had, they staffed for less people. With that said, even though it was kind of overwhelming to look at the amount of people making a line, it resolved itself. Like there were not really any roadblock, which is a matter of.
How long would you say it took between getting out of the Uber and getting onto the ship?
My memory fails me a little bit on that, but I would say around 45 minutes.
Okay. Yeah, and that seems to be accurate. We had a different check-in experience because of some other programs that were going on, and it took us about so in that other line about half hour. But it was, and that's why I said it was different. And I was curious your take. I think the count was 1,896 people. It was the busiest sailing Virgin had ever had.
Yes.
So it was very different from other times that I had gone.
And you mentioned something interesting. They were getting on a different line. They had a different cruise package. And when I left, I got left by myself. And I was like, okay, let's hope this works. And again, like I said before, it was really easy. But again, it's first-time experience. You don't know if something is going to...
I'll admit, it was very easy. And then you said Venezuelan airport. Now, I've never flown in or out of Venezuela, but that doesn't...
Now, I will do a video about that.
Maybe we're an Oscar.
Maybe, you never know.
Once you had stepped on board, like I was wondering about this moment because we're in different lines, which by the way, the different lines, I think partially because of the romance package. shameless plug, cruisehabit.com, links below if you want to know about the Virgin Voyages romance package. But I really wished I had been there with you when you first stepped on board, because you'd never been on a cruise ship. And so many people, I hear they say, oh, this is nothing like what I imagined. So you walk into what they call the roundabout.
Yes.
On Scarlet Lady. It's like if you've cruised before on larger ships of an atrium. Roundabout's smaller, but it's the same kind of concept. It's the central, the meeting place, all that. What was your first impression getting on board?
For me, it was like, after that, the whole line, checking and everything, it was like, okay, I'm finally here. And the image that you see, it's like going into a very busy but really cool shopping mall. So that atrium, that roundabout area, it immediately invites you. It's almost like playing a video game, You're like in the hub area. This is gonna be crazy, but right now you're in the hub area, which is exciting, but doesn't really tell you everything. Nonetheless, very colorful. The people, again, it looked like an airport as well, because we were all arriving with our rolling cases and everything. Fun fact, I was not ready, and I was pleasantly surprised about getting the main luggage sent directly to my cabin. That was a plus, and I loved it. Because, again, comparing with an airport or a hotel experience, it's you and your whole luggage.
Yeah, it's a lot more stressful. And
here it was super smooth. I was carrying a backpack, and that was it, So what I tried to do when I boarded was find I knew I had to do safety check.
Muster.
Yeah, the muster. Okay, but I went to my room, left my backpack, and I said, I'm here. First thing I did in my cabin was look at the ocean. Well, not the ocean. In that time it was the port, but I wanted to see the balcony. So I went to the balcony a little bit.
Port Miami is a manufactured port. That island wasn't there. It's man-made. So you were looking at where there used to be ocean.
Exactly.
We sailed away that first day, and we actually, Cruise Habit, host a sail away party for anyone and everyone that wanted to go. Got some drinks, hung out. Big thanks to anyone who's watching that showed up. That was a lot of fun. And then I think that night we had dinner at Razzle Dazzle, if I recall.
Yep.
And we talked a little bit about your first impressions there and about kind of being lazy on sea days. If you just saw, if you ran into your mom right now, what are things to be like, hey, this is interesting to me?
One of the first things I notice is how social and how open the people are versus daily life, And I love that. I love to see people that probably I will not talk to if I am in a shopping mall or even in downtown areas or bars. You discover their stories maybe for 5 minutes, and I know I've only been here for hours, but probably I don't see them again in the trip, but I had a nice connection with them. And for me, that's really, really cool.
Is there anything that you're just like, oh, that doesn't work the way I thought it did? Like whether it's, I don't feel the ship moving, or
that's amazing.
I didn't think the water would come out of the sink that quickly.
That is actually amazing, because I did think that I would feel the ship moving. It doesn't. It feels
We're still docked.
a shopping mall or something. So yeah, the stabilizing elements of the ship are amazing.
I have a weird question.
Shoot.
You flush a toilet yet, Juan?
Yes. It's like an airplane toilet. Thankfully, I'm familiar with those as well. But yeah, I thought I was gonna go being sucked into it. But
I probably should have warned you. So after that first evening, we went into a full sea day, not like your first day, I guess sea evening, but like a full sea day. Now, I love sea days. What did you think about being on a ship for the whole day at sea? What did you want to do? What did you end up doing? Overall,
I was ready. I was ready to embrace the whole experience, and not for a single moment during the whole sailing I felt trapped on a ship. This ship was like a mini city for me, and even in places that we ended up, going several times, there was always something different or some detail to discover, and I like that. I like exploring. Whenever I visit a new place, I try to squeeze everything, every detail, try to absorb as much as possible. That first day, after I took my nap, like you properly reminded us, I was really hungry. And before we got together for dinner, I remember having amazing coffee. And that was super important to me to continue my journey. That day, we also had a pajama party, remember? the night evening party.
Oh yeah, the very first night before even the full C day. That's right. There was the pajama party,
And that was great because not only, I mean, when you hosted the champagne event, I was really glad that you did it because I could meet already like 3-4 people that I really got along with. And during the sailing, then we saw them again in the night party. So I didn't feel like completely as an outsider or a newcomer to the group. Everybody was super welcoming. And it also showed me how much, remember the adults cruise philosophy and how much party oriented it is. Like that was a fun party. People were like into a club mode,
and especially since like we're talking about this is their busiest sailing, it was happening.
Yeah.
In fact, my only complaint was they have milk and cookies at the pajama party, and it was so hopping that I didn't get milk and cookies, and then it started to pour, and we all rushed inside. Anyway.
Didn't we end up getting ice cream or something of the sort? Or maybe that was another day.
What about so during that full sea day, like the next day? What did we do during the day? I think we were just like hanging out by the pool and the athletic club and.
We tried to sunbathe somewhat, but it was a little bit overcast. But yes, it was exploring the outside areas of the ship, the pool, seeing where the pools were. You showed me this VIP area, the rooftop, Richard's rooftop.
Yep.
Yeah, exploring the ship. And again, it didn't feel like, oh my God, it's a sea day. There's nothing to do. Quite the opposite. I was like, I'm not going to have time to explore and to experience everything. And you did warn me very properly about that. And it's fine. The experience just unfolds itself.
Yeah, and this is true. I think, honestly, of as much as we love Virgin, there are a lot of cruise lines that I enjoy. Any cruise line, like you, even earlier today at lunch, actually, we were talking about Oceania. Mm-hmm. Small, very quiet, high-end cruising. Even there, you're not gonna do it all.
Yeah.
You got this is what practice, Juan.
Yeah. I captain
cruising as well. So our first port of call was Puerto Plata, in the Dominican Republic, and Larissa and I have been there several times. You hadn't been there specifically, but
Punta Cana.
Okay, and you've been, I mean, you've lived on 3 continents. He's traveled a bit. So while you like, just like we do, seeing new places, like I think the goal there was kind of to take it relatively easy, but we did go ashore. Mm-hmm. And Juan asked me a question as we were going ashore that I think a lot of cruisers may have, and I know it's a very hot topic, very, very much debated, and we talked about that as we were walking ashore in Puerto Plata. So Juan actually asked me a question. He sent me a message on WhatsApp as we were going to meet. And what did you ask?
I wanted to know if I should bring my passport to get out of the
So many arguments about this in the cruise community. And, like many discussions, debates, you say, oh, there's no right or wrong answer. There is. A lot of comments gonna disagree, and that's okay. No, don't bring your passport into port. And I'm gonna give you the reasons that you don't need to bring your passport when you go off into port. And they're mostly because the reasons that people use to do this are wrong. They say, well, if something happens, right? If I miss the ship, maybe there's a medical issue,
Yeah.
Then, I want to have my passport. And that sounds like it makes sense. What makes that a non-issue is that in the unlikely event you miss the ship, then the crew, the security officers, they're going to go through your cabin, they're going to bag everything up, and they're going to empty the safe. And they're going to give that all to the port agent. And the port agent you can find like in the app, it's going to list it, they'll print it out. It's easy to find who the port agent is. And that's where you're going to go if, those are the people that are going to tell you when you get here, like, bad news, right? Or at least they'll get you to the port agent. So they're going to have your documents anyway. So you don't need to worry about it for that reason. Now, if you say, well, I don't trust that. Okay, well, I can tell you, I've lost things when I've been walking around places, but I've never missed the ship.
Right.
So if I do carry my passport, there's a better chance, by the numbers in my life, that I'm going to lose it in port, which would be bad.
So they won't let you off the ship to get back home.
Well, they'll definitely not keep you on the ship. Just getting back to your customs is going to be fun.
Purpose, right?
Yeah. Once we reach the end of that terminal, that gets us to this area, Taino Bay, which is a manufactured port facility. There's probably a way better name that I'm sure their tourism folks would love me to use, but that's what I call these places. Taino Bay. You have an objective in port, or you just want to walk around? Mama Juana, that's right.
That's the mission.
Yes. We ended up hanging out there. So what, help me remember, because I should have reviewed photos and stuff before having this conversation. What did we do at Taino Bay, at that port facility? I remember being over by the pool.
Before we got there, I remember we walked through that strip of shops and we were wondering what to do. Are we going to a bar or something? But we did go to the pool.
Caribbean cruise ports are like Disney World attractions, by the way. They always start or end in a gift shop.
They're strategically placed, for sure. I had a mission. I knew I was in the Dominican Republic, Español República Dominicana, so I had to have a Mama Juana. I was looking for a drink. I've heard about it, but even before in my life, I've never had the chance to try it, or maybe it was on the menu and I didn't order it. So that was my first goal. That for me would inaugurate the whole experience. So I had my Mama Juana and then had an awesome pool day with friends that we already had met on the cruise. With Larissa and Billy. It was an extremely relaxing day. For a minute, I considered going into town for a little bit. But again, like I said in the beginning, my philosophy was just relax and enjoy. Nice. So another time. And
that was actually my first time having Mama Juana as well, which for those of you who don't know, it's like the, we'll say, national spirit of the DR.
One of the many.
And it's... Sorry, Dominican friends. It looks like lawn clippings in a bottle of rum. It tasted better than I thought it would, though.
Yeah, it's super sweet. I will say that. I like it as a drink that maybe I will have after a meal.
Okay, I can see that.
Yep,
I can see that. You know, while we stayed there, it hit all the notes for relaxation. It was a pretty easy experience. I mean, you're talking what? I guess a couple minute walk from the ship, especially if you give somebody a couple bucks and they'll even drive you down the pier where we walked the first time. I think you and I took a car on the way back, one of the little carts, and waved to Larissa taking that long walk back. Please.
Billy and I also had a bit of a mission. We wanted to enjoy the pool of the ship. And, because this was the busiest sailing of Virgin ever, the pool, you can imagine, was pretty full of people. So we went back to the ship a little bit earlier, and we also had a few drinks. So at least we could soak in.
You're right, we did.
We took, we got our dosage of pool time, and then I went to my cabin.
I'm curious, your thoughts on the bathroom and shower in your ship. You had like a standard sea terrace, or maybe a central sea terrace. So the most common stateroom type on Virgin, and sea terraces, that's their term for balconies, but it has a hammock, which is fun. I've
big fan of hammocks.
Me too. I definitely thought I was going to die the first couple times I got in and out of the ones on the ship. A little practice, but
Bill has one of his many videos in which he has a very interesting hammock scene.
Yeah, it's not staged. I really am that clumsy. So the thing that one of my big takeaways with the cabins, though, has to do with the bathrooms. So you went and showered, and this is your first cruise ship bathroom in general. Yeah. So you got to experience the extremely powerful toilet. And what about? Did you feel like you had space? How was the shower? Water? Overall?
Thankfully, you mentioned it before. I have lived in different continents. I have lived in Europe. So it was not a huge shock to me to find a tiny bathroom. The room, I really prefer that philosophy of giving you, okay, it's not the roomiest shower. It will definitely be too small if you're more than one person. I will say that for my particular taste. But I appreciated that the actual room where you spend more time, it's roomier. So the shower itself, the shower space, was pretty.
Yeah, in fact, I think they do a very good job. And really good shower heads and the deluge heads.
It felt like a waterfall.
Yeah.
It's like you're getting a full waterfall experience, and I like that.
But the room itself, comfy in terms of the...
Absolutely. Bed, pillows, everything comfy. Going back to the bathroom.
Yeah.
The way I would describe it is like an airplane bathroom with a very nice shower. So the actual toilet and everything is airplane sized.
It's tight.
Yeah.
Wow, yeah. That's
how I see it.
Accurate. Yeah. So for the record, compared to a lot of other cruise ships, smaller bathroom, bigger shower.
Look at that. Well, that's a proportion.
If you want to see the type of stateroom that Juan was in, we had the same type. Larissa and I had the same type as well. I've got cabin tours for Sea Terrace, XL Sea Terrace, for several suite types. Check that out in the links below. The next port of call, so we had another sea day, which I think was largely more relaxing, and we're going to get into food and entertainment because that's a big part of sea days and evenings.
Absolutely.
But let's talk about the next port of call real quick, and that was Bimini, which is which direction are we? Like 50 miles that way, right toward the camera there.
Oh, that's true.
So not far from home. Feels like a world away though.
Yes,
to me.
Absolutely.
And
Lifetime away.
Bimini, you can when Virgin docks in Bimini, you can do anything in Bimini that you want, but they have the Beach Club, which is their. When Virgin is in port, it's only for use by Virgin guests. Other times, different things, and it's set up differently. And it's just a super chill place to relax at the beach and by the pool. What did you think about that? And tell us about what it was like. Like, so you dock, and how do you get to the beach club?
This one was definitely a farther distance than Puerto Plata. But again, you had the right trolleys to take you there. And I actually liked it because you could see how the island looks outside of the Virgin property. Like you see a bunch of hotels and cabins, etc. So that was, again, very smooth. Reaching even the club's facilities seem to be, at least for me, way bigger because they are distributed along the beach line. So in here, you do feel like you arrived at a full-size beach resort.
Now you went into the water.
Oh yeah.
You were a fan of the beach there. Maybe I'm just spoiled because like the beach is right here. I don't ever go to the beach.
You know, it's fun fact. Being Venezuelan myself, the Caribbean is an entirely different experience the further south you go.
Agreed.
And for me, I miss Venezuelan beaches so much. And going to that ocean and tasting the water and feeling it felt like going back home. And that was an excellent plus over there. Almost the first thing I did there was get my towel, found, one of those sunbeds and just left my things there. Very secure, nobody, everybody's minding their own business, so it's super safe. And I just went to the ocean and then spent some time over there.
And we joined you over by one of the pools. Were you expecting, by the way, at the pools, like the floats coming out?
Well, I mean, yes, because I've seen it lately in, resort pools and such, but always a fun thing to watch, some animal plushes.
It's kind of a neat vibe there.
Yep.
I think it makes it fun.
Before we went to the pool itself, I think you and I had lunch. Larissa was also working. She stayed on the ship. And I do want to highlight the fish that I tried there. I mean, the food is really, really good in that beach club.
Yeah, I think the food at
everything was
Beach
amazing.
Club is fantastic. So much better than other cruise line, like private resort type places. But yeah, the rum cake, still the best rum cake I've had.
I agree.
Anywhere at all.
Totally agree.
Is over at the beach club. So yeah, listen, if I could just like snap my fingers and get over to the beach club, I think I would go there pretty regularly. It's closer than the port is, but not as easy for me to get to. Let's talk about entertainment, because again, entertainment, and I know everyone wants to know about food, so we're going to talk about food. That's something that we enjoyed on both sea days, but also after our fun in both ports of call. Before we do, though, I want to shamelessly invite you to like, subscribe, and ring the little bell so that you're alerted when we post new videos. It won't cost anything, we won't annoy you with anything, but it would really, really mean the world to me. And Juan, it would mean the world to him too.
For sure.
Yeah, that wasn't forced. Thank you for subscribing. So let's talk about the entertainment. And I think we can kick it off discussing live music, because that was, I think, for both of us, a pretty big element.
Totally. And as you know, and you don't know, I'm a musician myself. My parents are musicians. I grew up with music. So that was definitely, I knew that I would expect music shows and entertainment. But I was, again, pleasantly surprised. And amazed even at the quality of many of these bands. I think the first night, or maybe the second most likely. After dinner, we went to this bar called On the Rocks.
Yes.
Right below the staircase.
In the roundabout,
staircase.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, they were playing things like, I don't know, AC/DC. And before we got there, I thought they were just playing AC/DC, you know, but it was a live band. And this group, Madison Grace from Jacksonville.
Madison Grace and
Free advertising.
She's, yeah.
She's amazing. And the whole band it literally rocks.
That's what's remarkable is every person in that band,
Yeah.
I was like, well, you're clearly the best at what you do.
I concur. I think it was a privilege to find that quality of artist. And again, this is not just limited to Madison Grace, because we also went to the show with the hostess. She has a fantastic voice. In fact, we met her before at the same bar one other evening. But she features her particular show where she sings, and it's a little bit more, you know, kinkier. And
that's what's the name of that show?
It's on Scarlet Night.
If you well, and sometimes she'll do a few. I think depends on the particular selling. Definitely look in the program if you're selling Virgin for and different hostesses do different shows to highlight their ways. This was Carmen, the hostess. All of the hostesses that I've seen have been terrifically talented with their own, you know, unique way. But man, Carmen has a voice, and she's hilarious. Also, really.
And I like that every group that we saw has their own particular style. Like if you want on the more jazzy, vintage, you know, almost cabaret-like of voice, you go, you know, pursue the hostess. And again, for rock, you had Madison Grace. And I think we also met Carlos, the Argentinian. Was it Carlos?
No, Alejandro Meola.
Alejandro, we did not stop. We had dinner reservations.
I had watched him before, and I was just like, this guy's amazing.
And the message is that essentially there will be variety. Like, and if you want, I don't know, to listen to hip hop, you go to the Manor, where they play hip hop music.
Yeah, depending on the night, there's all sorts of different music in the Manor, and that's
a lot of variety, entertainment-wise.
There is a lot of variety. Now, if you ask crew from the sailing, whether that's the Happenings cast, the waiters, you know, any number of folks, what their favorite show was, I suspect that they enjoyed a performance in the wake.
Indeed.
People actually came up to Juan for the rest of the cruise, guests, sailors, and crew.
In the elevator, they're like, "You're the piano man." And I said, "Yeah."
Yeah, and piano's not even your primary instrument.
Nope. I play the accordion, which I did not want to bring into the ship because it's too heavy.
Next time. So we talked about live music. There's other entertainment as well. There's 3 big shows in the Red Room. Red Room is a giant multi-purpose venue. It's configured differently depending on the particular show. It seems like a totally different space. So you have a unnamed dance show party thing. Unnamed or untitled? I always forget that. Somebody will correct me in the comments. Ships in the Night.
Yes.
And Dual Reality, which is the one with acrobatics and whatnot. Having not been on a cruise before, I feel like sometimes cruise ship entertainment gets a bad rap. People think it's very almost like stereotypical lounge kind of, and it can be, and
or
it can be fun too.
Yeah.
Sure, but like this, what did you think about all this?
It began. We first watched, and again, I'm terrible with the titles, but Around the World in how many? 6 days? Around the world.
80 minutes. It was not that long of a show. Huh?
Instead of 80 days, 80 minutes. Perfect.
I bless the waves down. It's gonna take a while to get these flags out of the bar.
and that was fun, relaxed. You know, it's in fact. I remember Larissa wanted me to get like a front seat, and I said, "No, let's just chill here." Very participative, you know. Yeah, the diva is like she will pick you if she sees you're looking elsewhere, etc. So
The diva, by the way, is the drag queen on board, part of the
yes.
Happenings cast, and definitely shout out to Carlos, the Uber driver. Fantastic name.
and then the shows began to take a more serious artistic approach, which I really, really appreciated. Ships in the Night.
Yeah.
Was that the one about like the two teams or?
No, that's dual reality.
Okay, perfect. So Ships in the Night, actually, I remember telling Larissa, now I need a drink. Because it's a very artistic, like I said, very reflective, almost existential show. Amazing performance, amazing artistry, the design. So I really did not expect to find this type of show on a cruise. I would say that, let's say that they're presenting themselves on land in some city. This is like a great value because an entrance to these shows will be like what, 60, 70 bucks?
Oh, easily, yeah.
Easily.
Yeah.
So you are getting top of the line entertainment, basically.
Yeah, they're maybe cut a little bit shorter than they would be on land.
Yes.
But there's so much you want to do that, like, I'm always fine with
It's
that.
perfect.
Yeah. I
So
agree.
it's like a cherry on top.
Yeah. So there was also, there's other stuff going on, and we can't possibly mention all of it. The Manor, the nightclub, that's where some of the other shows were that we've talked about here, but it's also just a nightclub night. But there are some crazy, the lighting and the great audio systems in there. We were discussing that earlier today. In fact, I'm not a big nightclub person. I don't think you are
neither.
either, but like,
No, me
it's
neither.
a really neat space, man.
It is.
It's
It
so cool
is.
in there, especially once you know about the secret door. So you can get over to a bar like that and get a little quiet because it's very
Ship
loud
is
for me.
full of secrets.
Including stuff on Scarlet Night, which, hey Google, make the living room group red. Excellent.
Scarlet mode on.
Scarlet Night. So Scarlet Night is a themed night. A lot of people wear red. Certainly don't have to. And the whole ship
have to.
turns red. I said you have to. The whole ship turns red in terms of the lighting, and they put all sorts of over-the-top things around the ship. And I made this mistake my first several Virgin sailings, where I was like, oh, I'm going to go to this scheduled event, which can be great, but there's stuff going on
Everything happening at the same time.
all over.
It's like that movie, everything, everywhere, all at once.
Yes.
Fill my heart with song, let me sing forevermore. You are all I long for, all I worship and adore.
So we've been, talking little secret things. We got to see, I believe technically it was a secret magic show.
Exactly.
We got to see a secret magic show on a different night, but this was a secret magic show. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. So got taken over to a bar with a group of people that only a small number of people get brought to. That was just a random thing. That's not something like, oh, Billy, he makes.
It's almost like going to
Videos,
a
like, it was just
speakeasy.
randomly picked.
You're going to a speakeasy inside of the ship. And,
Yeah.
and like you said, it's a secret experience. You just have to be there at the right moment and know the right people. Like,
Yes.
bim, bim, bim.
There's a wedding.
Yes.
Those two people didn't know each other. That was weird. There's an after party.
That was really, really
What did you
cool.
think of that after
My
party?
goodness, the after party. If you are a party person, like clubbing and everything, you will have a lot of fun. And even if you're not, we all did.
Yeah.
It's all about fun that night.
And a giant
particular.
octopus.
Oh yeah, let's not forget the tentacles indoors as well.
Yeah, that's true. Indoors and outdoors.
And I like how they blended some sort of mythology that they created to justify the Scarlet Night. The
Yeah.
whole legend, there's a legend behind it. There's a storytelling aspect that I appreciate.
Let's talk about everyone's favorite thing now when it comes to cruising, and that is food. And in fact, we discussed food a little bit. We're big brunch people. We just had brunch before recording this today.
Yep.
It's kind of our thing. And we had brunch at the Wake, which is all the way aft. So let's go to that real quick.
Oh, I had the Wake Benedict, which comes with pork belly and your typical Benedict. It was perfect. What was the name of the dessert? It was like a strawberry
I don't remember.
cheesecake based.
Yeah, but not overly sweet.
Yeah.
It's
It was a
very good.
perfect.
So I'll tell you,
topping to,
I think
bread lunch.
we need to go back to Wake while we're in motion at some point. Because the reason it's called the Wake is because you have those beautiful windows facing out back.
Yeah.
And so you
I enjoy
see
the view
Wake,
though.
but
I really
it's-
enjoy the view of the DR.
Yeah.
You know.
So I tend to judge brunch places by their Benedicts. And I have to say that the Wake passed the test very, very well. I would say that in this ship, I mean, I would consider there's sort of a food court. It's called the galley, right?
Galley, yeah.
So in the galley, you go to order. I don't want to say informal food, but it's not like you want to make a reservation and you don't plan to spend a couple of hours.
extra casual.
Extra casual, exactly. And the food was amazing there, very, very good. But once you go to the specialized places is when everything begins to shine, because I think it's quality that even in many cities you don't find, and combinations of things. Like they really put it's evident that they put a lot of care into building this menu in both the drinking aspect, in the eating aspect, and the drinking aspect, and how everything blends together. And I want to highlight the test kitchen as a very peculiar and interesting experience.
It's like test
In a good
kitchen
way.
it's like sort of like
Deconstructed.
deconstructed type thing, somewhat experimental, but not. I think for most people, everyone's palates are different. I think for most people, still pretty approachable.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's not like you're tasting, some sort of unpalatable thing.
Right.
No. Everything is gonna be food that prepared in a way that you were not ready for.
On Virgin, all of the restaurants are included. I think each of the larger like sit-down restaurants have one item, maybe one has two, that like Kobe beef, for example, like might be, but the restaurants themselves are completely complimentary. There's one that we didn't get to that I know you wanted to.
Yes, that's the Korean barbecue place.
Gande.
It was, again, we have mentioned it several times. This was an extremely dense sailing, and so it's normal. I wish I had known to make reservations way earlier, but it's fine. Again, we got to revisit the Mexican restaurant, the Pink Agave.
Yeah.
And the second time, it actually surprised me even more, and I didn't think that was possible. So
I will say, my fault for the reservation thing. I have videos talking about, hey, you generally don't need reservations on Virgin. This sailing was just so much busier. It
was crowded.
And, well, I think they did a great job.
Oh, yeah.
It was a holiday weekend, so it's not like, oh, they've been getting busier, they'll increase staffing, and like it was just all of a sudden like double the people.
Yes.
And so, yeah.
no complaints whatsoever.
Stuff
The experience never diminished the quality.
Was your favorite Pink Agave? I don't mean to lead you.
Favorite. That's a problem when you're a foodie, But I would say that the second night at the Pink Agave wins.
Yeah.
I tried the duck and the steak. Typically, I don't order steak in Mexican restaurants, but because it was my second visit, I'm like, I'm gonna give it a shot.
Branch out a little bit. Yeah.
And I also want to highlight that both times that we were there, we met excellent people in the table, sitting with us, and we had an excellent conversation. So that was also as important as the meal itself.
And big thanks, by the way, to Manny, who is the mixologist currently on board. And he's helped us before on past sailings. If you watch our video where we had a bar crawl, hosted like our own bar crawl on a group cruise back in July, Manny helped with that. He's awesome. He always comes with the most fantastic tequila suggestions. And in fact, I just bought a new bottle of tequila 2 days ago back at home based on something that he had us try on board. To wrap up kind of some of the food stuff, I just want to talk about drinks because you mentioned there was a lot of care put in, and I agree. I've been to all-inclusives and cruise ships where kind of a TGI Fridays kind of drink menu,
Yes.
if I'm honest. But I think Virgin does a great job there. And you actually tried something that that Larissa discovered on a recent sailing, Seedlip.
Seedlip.
It's a non-alcoholic. You can't really call it a spirit because it's non-alcoholic.
Pseudo spirit.
Yeah. And the reason I want to mention that, because we had some good conversations about this, it's great for if you like, even if you do drink alcohol, hey, if you don't, great. Now you have an additional option. But even if you do,
It's a great drink.
if you want to have some drinks, but you just are looking to take it a little easy.
Exactly.
I think that's pretty cool.
That was you're right that was one of our most important discoveries in this journey, because Larissa and I were trying. I remember that night we were trying a lot of gin and tonic, gin and blah blah blah. I also tried one cocktail on the rocks called something thyme.
Oh, yes.
It was a very elaborate cocktail with the thyme, and then Larissa comes back and she offers me this seedlip. We were kind of tired of drinking alcohol, and the flavor of that cocktail, non-alcoholic cocktail, was
So same drink, but made with the seedlip.
basically, I didn't feel like, I'm getting a non-alcoholic cocktail. It must be something boring. Absolutely not. So
Virgin has these just the garnishes and the mixers, the little the tinctures and stuff like that are really that makes a big difference.
Absolutely.
Having good selection of liquor, yes, that's important, but you can really go further with
the mixology element was out of this world
with those. I've got several videos on. I have a lot of videos on cruising tips, including 12 things you should do on embarkation day, stuff like that. But I have several specific to Virgin voyages. So if you're thinking about cruising Virgin, check that out. I mention that now because we're going to get into some other. We're going to talk about highlights, stuff like that. But also the part of the trip that requires a little bit of logistics, a little bit of planning that nobody wants to think about, and that is disembarkation, because all good things must end. End of the cruise, we the last day was in Bimini, right?
Yeah.
So we get back and everyone's exhausted, but having a good time. You still want to enjoy that last evening. Did you check your bag on the way out? You were talking about checking on the way in and how that worked. I'm curious how the disembarkation process went, ranging from planning, how clear Virgin did or didn't make that info, right up to getting off the ship and out to the curb.
Actually, you bring up a really important element of my sailing, the disembarkation process, because if it not had been for Billy, I would not have known that I had to leave my luggage outside of my door to be picked up and then collected after the whole checkout disembarkation process. So I wish Virgin had made it more evident. Apparently, the app tells you, but I think it should be way more explicit.
I agree. This is the type of perspective I love, because I take these things for granted. I know that every cruise line is going to have to do something like this, right? And in the app, it'll give you step by step. It has great info, but you have to know to look there.
Yeah, and again, like Billy said, it was the last night. We were all tired from Bimini. I thought it was kind of, if there was something important to say about the process, it should be everywhere.
I feel like putting little cards in the room. Virgin didn't do any of those at the beginning because they were trying to reduce waste and make things. Hey, it's all through the app. And to their credit, I think that's all good stuff. But I think they are starting to realize like there are some things that are just critical enough. Put it on the pillow, like if the time changes depending on where you're sailing, stuff like that. So that's one that
one of the best advices I got from people in my life. It was never assume. So I think Virgin is leaving a little bit of an assumption, and sometimes people can get into trouble.
It's a good call out. I did give you the heads up. You put your bag out.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
How did the next morning go? Did we have breakfast?
Yes, I was going to say, I was thinking, again, maybe because of the deja vu of Venezuelan airports, I'm like, disembarkment is going to be, I have to wake up at 6 a.m. and just go as soon as possible. That was not the case at all. Once I knew that my luggage was taken care of, I woke up and we had breakfast, and it was not like a rush breakfast at all. The whole episode ended perfectly. And then Uber back home to work.
Yeah, immediately back to work. I think one last thing I want to mention about that. We had breakfast. So I think we had breakfast at Razzle Dazzle the last morning.
Yes, we did.
My personal opinion, I don't know what you thought. I think Razzle Dazzle is the best breakfast on board.
It is dazzling.
It is dazzling.
I will say, personal opinion again, I loved the wake.
Yeah, that was your go-to for brunch. So let's kind of wrap it up and go with sort of not a highs lows kind of thing, but
yes.
How was the cruise in general compared to expectations, and what might you have changed if you could?
I think the ship really exceeded my expectations in I could say every single aspect.
Yeah.
Like confirmed and then exceeded.
Okay.
My expectations were probably very limited to relaxing and enjoying. I said that in the beginning, right? And I did that and then some. Again, value was confirmed. Like, I think that for the cost of it, and even if it's not like a once in a year deal, I saw that what you put into this type of trips, you get back in value.
Well, and I think I even asked you because we talked about earlier how great of a deal you got on this particular thing. I said, well, what if it was instead of 1,200 or whatever it was, what if it was 2,000?
Mm-hmm. Then I'll find somebody else to come with me.
but you still feel like the values.
Oh yeah. The experience itself is definitely worth repeating. I mean, I get why he's addicted.
It's become a habit. What would you? Is there anything like that you would improve upon? With very broadly speaking, like the one part of the experience you're like that could have gone better.
That's interesting that you mentioned. I mean, I know improvements are not something that interesting, but I just remembered one of my initial expectations about cruise ships was, for some reason, large pools. I found the pool on this particular ship to be unusually small. It was more like a pond, like a
The water
large
wasn't green. There were no frogs. I just want to be clear to anyone watching.
No frogs. Like
One frog.
It was a large jacuzzi area, and for such a crowded sailing, that's why that day that we went to Puerto Plata, we hopped back into the ship earlier to just enjoy a little bit. And do I feel it's something of a deal breaker? Absolutely not, because on the actual port days, you are in an amazing resort with an amazing pool. So with the amount of things that you've got to do, to eat, to drink, the people to meet and everything, that's just a small detail.
What about biggest surprises, things that really, whether it's that they were better than expected or just so much different, things that you never would have guessed you would have experienced along the way?
I would say, and we did cover this before, but I will reinstate that the food quality was a great surprise. I don't typically invest in gourmet experiences like the construction kitchen. So if that's included in my sailing, I find that to be a big plus. And also being part of all of these secret events, because we didn't go only into one. I think it was 3 events with the Charmer.
Oh, that's true. There were 3. Yeah.
Yeah. So it felt like we were part of a kind of VIP crowd, and it was super cool.
People ask, by the way, like, oh, how do I get to those secret things? Like, be omnipresent, be hang out, talk to people, get lucky.
Yep.
Because I mean, we truly, like on Scarlet Night, like we're just like,
that's it. That's
just pulled us
they take
we're
you.
still on Scarlet Night lighting. I just noticed.
And I'll mention karaoke night. For me, a big surprise was that the ship has, these karaoke rooms that are amazing.
Right. There's regular karaoke, right? Which usually they do in the social club.
Mm-hmm.
You know what they did in December? They couldn't do it this time. Tangent, because it's too hot. At night, they did karaoke out at the athletic club.
So it was like outdoors.
So you're like right in front of the net is like
Nice.
the stage. So you're looking at somebody singing karaoke and there's stars in the background.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Sorry.
So, these rooms, if you want to talk about surprise, I did not expect it. And it's not like a tiny karaoke room like Japan. It's actually roomy.
There's a few of them. They're ranging. Some of them you could fit like maybe 4 people, but I think the purple room, which is where we were the last night, I mean, you could fit probably 10 people in there.
Easily.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh yeah, easily, because we almost had that many at the end. There was still space.
And it's a very nice space. And
Complimentary.
at that moment, we had already met really good people that became our friends on the sailing. And I have to mention that also. Like, the
and
connection.
Big Sexy. We should put their links down below.
Yes, all of these experiences to me, and I'm gonna get a little bit philosophical as usual, are a perfect moment to create connections. Even if they're brief, even if you don't see these people ever again, it's about creating a moment that allows you to know other people, know other cultures, know other experiences. So that was definitely done in this sailing, achieved.
I agree. It's something that I think we actually talked about this maybe on the first day. It might have even been in one of the video clips you just saw. But like, you end up talking to people. People end up hanging out in a way that they wouldn't on land. For some reason, it's just different. I don't know what it is. What would you tell someone looking to take their if they're thinking about taking their very first cruise and they're considering Scarlet Lady?
Go for it, like completely. And this is gonna sound like he's paying me to do advertising or anything, but if you're thinking about it and you're looking for information, really ask Billy at cruisehabit.com and subscribe.
Checks in the mail. I appreciate that, and it does seem like this. So much of this sounds so set up, but you guys know, many of you know, I love this. There were so many times throughout the cruise that, as he said here today, like. I get it now. I get it now, and that's what I want everyone to get who hasn't cruised before. And I think Virgin for many people is a good starting place. There are a lot of good cruise lines. I have an article all about finding the right cruise line for you. It's important to keep in mind. There's a lot of options, but Virgin can be a good option. So you ready to go again?
Absolutely.
Awesome. I appreciate it. If you're ready to go, first time or again, if you're ready to go again. And I think you're already booked on this. VirginVoyagesGroupCruise.com. We had one back in July. We're going to do another December of 2023. Doing another group with friends, February of 2023. You can check that out. I have links on the site as well. But on these group cruises, we have all crazy events like custom bar crawls and big special parties and do a lot of neat stuff. A lot of fun people, built-in friend groups. So shameless plug for that. Dude, thank you so much for doing this video, for cruising with us, for being our friend, and for cruising again very soon.
Don't make me cry, Billy. Don't make me cry.
Stop.
See ya.